My name is Vivian Cavalieri. I'm a visual artist, and I'm here to talk about my latest collection. War and Peace was first inspired by my reading Code Girls by Liza Mundy, and I was so impressed by everything those women had done. I'd grown up with the image of Rosie the Riveter, that was familiar, but I never heard about those 11,000 women and their role, and that started me doing more research on these women and other members of the service in areas where women had been prominent during World War II.
So this is a man's war, is it?
These women are working around the clock, they do a man's job, and they can draw a man's pay.
And here, in this almost the last great industry we thought could be handled only by men, these mothers, wives, and sweethearts came to stand shoulder to shoulder with them in almost every capacity.
I started wondering why there was this apparent regression in society's view of the intelligence and capabilities of women, and more saddened that because they weren't in a position to try to preserve the rights, that they had lost rights.
And what about after this war, Lee?
Well, this job belongs to some soldier, and when he comes back, he can have it.
Oh, that's swell.
Code Girls is one of my favorite pieces, in part because of all the hidden clues and puzzles. At the time, code breakers were not recruited the way most other people were, which is via posters and newspaper articles. It was done surreptitiously. The first cut, if you will, was done at women's colleges by the heads there, who were asked to select senior girls who liked crossword puzzles and were not engaged to be married. One of the items in Code Girls is crossed words. When you rearrange those letters, it does spell codebreaker. The numbers on the playing cards at the bottom reflect a Japanese code that was decrypted in October 1944. And my favorite piece, because it's so surreptitious, is the crib. While on its face, it's the piece, the nursery, it's where the women returned, a crib is in fact a method of decrypting code. And so it's a sly reference to the continued intelligence of the women who were then being asked to return to domestic duties.
Women make exceptionally efficient laboratory technicians. They operate sensitive equipment, work with chemicals, do machining of parts. Often they must maintain accuracies as close as 1/10,000th of an inch. When you make a piece of equipment as important and as intricate as a turbo supercharger, you've got to be sure every bit of material you use is up to standard.
Pour milk into the acid tomato and you're likely to have curdled tomato soup. Pour the acid tomatoes slowly into cold milk and, well, you can see that cooking is practically applied chemistry.
The 6888 was the only all-black battalion of women sent to Europe. Their job was to sort a backlog of millions of pieces of mail to get them from the families in the U.S. to the people fighting abroad. The work was critical to morale. A mail call based on the 6888 was a much more obvious statement about what happens when you risk everything and then are further denigrated. The women of the 6888 faced an additional burden when they returned, and I wanted a piece that acknowledged that. What I did was include a soda fountain. Instead of simply having a kitchen appliance, suggesting that the women are going back to the kitchens, I included the soda fountain as a reference to the upcoming fight for civil rights. Ivy and Orchids was inspired by that poster. A man and woman are sitting on a lunch break having a talk where it says, "Good work, sister. We never thought you could do a man-sized job." And I particularly like the poster because of the expression on the woman's face. To me, she's saying, "You idiot." The poster's purportedly praising America's women. It says, "America's women have met the test."
Hands working for America. Women's hands. From machining to shipping, women have so efficiently played the dominant role in making this turbo supercharger that American aviators today are able to fly higher and faster than their enemies.
All America salutes its women of steel.
Well, they may have met the test in being as strong as Ivy, but as soon as you go past the war, they're expected to be delicate flowers, orchids again.
Home economics means much more than a career. It's a study of everything that makes up a home. Carol, who is now Mrs. Bill Johnson, took a general home economics course. Not one which would lead to professional employment, but one which fitted her for that very important career of being Mrs. Johnson.
You know, I don't think I could ever run out of material on this project. The societal changes that occurred and my respect for the women, as well as people in the segregated units. I hope particularly young girls see what their mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers did without thinking they were doing anything necessarily special. This is what they were capable of doing. Their service needs to be remembered. They need to be remembered. They did this at a time society had no expectations that women could do this. And remember that society's expectations don't define you.
Here one girl is teaching another how to operate a Jones and Lamson turret lathe. So far, the machine shop has been a man's world. At first, the new girl is a little frightened. But when she sees another girl get her hands dirty, sees her actually doing the job easily and efficiently, she learns faster and with greater self-confidence.